Teaching Control with Brandon McMillan. Made possible by DPK Media Solutions, finding solutions for clients in a complicated media-driven world.
Before you ever think about training your dog, you need to get them under control. One of the best techniques I recommend is the double-leash lock-off. And I promise you, it works every single time with every single dog.
Brandon's going to be teaching us a technique today that you can use at home and that we can use here at the shelter to help us save lives.
The double-leash lock-off, in theory, it's a prerequisite to the obedience training. Once you have them controlled, now you can unhook the double leash and you can train them more efficiently, or you can keep the double leash on and teach other things. You can teach a good sit, a down, a no, a stay. And again, your whole goal with the double leash lock off is to eventually get away from the double leash. But this right here trains them more efficiently. Once they're stable and once they're not fighting this, I can simply unhook the back one, and now I can train the dog to do whatever I want because muscle memory has already kicked in and the animal understands the less that I do, the more I get paid. So this little contraption I have set up right here is what I like to call the double leash lock off. As you can see, this leash is attached to her harness and it's anchored off to the wall. This leash is attached to her martingale collar. It's in my hand. This is known as the anchor leash. This is my control leash. So when I pull this, come on, boom, gotcha. Now you're controlled. Now you can't move forward, backwards, left, or right. You want to leave it just slacked enough where your corrections are just this. So technically this is a very loose leash. That way your corrections are in your fingers, not in your entire arm. Belinda has been in the shelter for just a few days now. She's a sweet girl with a wild streak. And before the shelter staff can train her effectively, we need to bring her energy level under control. Let's see if the double leash lock off will work. Let it settle. Oh, look at, just like that. Just like that. It's amazing what happens. See how she's a little jumpy right now? If she gets too out of control, I can just take this front leash, give a little pull, release when she's good, and then 3, 2, 1. Okay, good. That's as simple as this technique gets. It's just a control technique. Well, it worked well with Belinda. Will Moose be a different story? He's bigger, stronger, faster, and maybe even more crazy. Let's see what we can do. Now, if I just have one leash on, what happens is the dog can actually start swinging around me. It's like holding a kite on a windy day. When I have 2 leashes on, now the dog can't move forwards, backwards, left, or right, and so now I have a controlled animal. Hold on, where are you going? Where are you going? Huh. This is the typical reaction sometimes the first time they get on the double leash. Come here, Smitty. Oh yeah. The less you do, the more you get paid. There you go. Good. So when I train, I have a 3-step rule. It's control, train, treat. You can't train before you have control. You need to get control of the animal. And furthermore, the pedestal, it's amazing what happens. This pedestal is only a foot tall. You can train on a picnic table. You can even train on the top of a stair landing. Some sort of elevation makes all the difference in the world. Now, all I'm looking for here is the dog to do basically nothing. The less he does, good, the more he gets paid. Now, if I'm trying to train with just one leash, what happens is the dog is doing circles around me. This right here creates the control. Now I can train the dog in one area. The dog actually learns to stand there and do nothing. And this actually translates very well to basic obedience. Translates to manners. Translates to just basic control in all areas. Once you do this for a few days, I promise you, you can actually teach obedience in probably half the time as you would have without doing an exercise like this. So I do this with every single one of my young, out-of-control dogs. As you can see, slacked front leash. I really have to do no heavy pulling here, no big corrections. I don't like training a dog where I constantly have to correct and pull and hold. It does a lot of damage to the neck, number one, and number two, it creates a longer training process. Your goal with this technique is to do this for 3 or 4 days and then see where you're at. What you want to do at that point, unhook the back leash. And if they're standing there doing nothing in front of you, like this, that's when you achieve success. If they're still swinging around you, zipping, weaving, put them back on the anchor leash. The anchor leash is the secret to this whole entire thing. There's no time limit to say it's going to take 2 days, 3 days. I've seen some dogs take weeks. Young, really high energy, a lot of herding breeds. I don't care how high energy your dog is, eventually they will stabilize because they realize the anchor leash wins. There's no dog in the world, assuming that anchor leash is locked onto something heavier and more powerful than they are, that leash wins 10 out of 10 times, guarantee. So I wouldn't worry about, oh, he's not doing it after one session, then do a second session, a third session. They will get it. I've got a 100% success rate on teaching animals control through this technique. I've never failed once because, again, that anchor leash wins every time.